Hey folks, so today we're going to do a quick video comparing and contrasting the Old Blood Noise Endeavor's Procession reverb and the Old Blood Noise Endeavor's Sunlight reverb. We're going to go over how they sound different and how they operate different, and hopefully help you decide which one is right for you if you're looking to purchase one of these guitar pedals. So if that sounds interesting, please stick around. So both of these pedals are what I would consider modulated reverb pedals, which means that the reverb sounds that come out of them are modulated in some way by another form of an effect. They're both, to my ears, somewhat of a pad reverb. They create a really immense ambient tone upon which you can add little embellishments, you can play interesting notes and chords. And then both of them are known for having a distinct hold feature, which will freeze a particular reverberated note or chord and hold it out indefinitely. But how they get to that point is slightly different, and we'll get into that a little later. Let's start with how they sound different. What's interesting is they both have three reverb voicings or forms of modulation. The Procession is more of a traditional modulation in the sense that you can offer a flange, filter, or tremolo effect to the reverb, whereas the Sunlight really goes after some of the interesting features we find in modulated delay. So you have a tape setting to the far left of its three-way switch, which is going to make a warbly sound like an old tape deck you find in some of the tape deck or tape echo emulators. There's also a comb setting, which is a multi-delay feature on the reverb, which creates some really interesting spatial tone, really broad kind of ambient pad space to work with, which is really great. And then also there is a pass form as well, which is a multi-pass filter, which allows you to create kind of pass filter feature among two different reverb trails as well, which is pretty interesting. So off the bat, really what we're seeing here is what I consider more traditional modulation, and then some of the more interesting modulation you'd find in delays and some of the new interesting filter pedals that are coming out as well. So thinking about how they sound, I think it's best if you maybe can't play these to think about other pedals they may sound like or evoke kind of sounds similar to. So with the Procession, with things like the tremolo feature, you're going to think about maybe the Strymon Flint, where you're combining reverb and tremolo with both foot switches there, or if you've heard maybe the Old Blood Noise Flatlight, which is a really interesting ambient take on flange. Those are some of the sounds you're going to be able to evoke or kind of get close to with this pedal while being its own distinct thing. Whereas with the Sunlight, what really comes to mind with some of the features is the ZVEX Instant Lo-Fi Junkie or Instant Lo-Fi Looper, especially for that tape deck warble. And when you're thinking about some of the interesting spatial delay, we think about Earthquaker devices and the Disaster Transport, I believe is what it's called, delay reverb pedal. So if that's the kind of sound or space you're looking to create, just sound-wise, this might be a better option. So that's the first thing to consider is, if you're wanting to modulate your reverb, what sounds you like. If you like a more, synchronous or symmetrical sound, tremolo comes to mind here. If you like things a little more asynchronous or a little off-kilter, definitely the tape function in this pedal, the Sunlight, will help you get there. So there's also the kind of overall tonality of maybe a little more lo-fi with this pedal and a little more kind of standard tone with this pedal as well. So with that being said, let's also talk about how these two pedals initiate their hold function, which is one of the things that Old Blood is known for putting in their pedals. So the last thing before we get into some sound comparisons would be just to go over the feature functionality for the hold settings on these. So the Procession has a hold switch, which is a kind of temporary hold. Old Blood is known for doing this with their Dark Star reverb as well, maybe some of their other pedals. Essentially, if you play a note or you play a chord with some of your settings, you can hold this pedal down, the switch down on the pedal, and it will ring out indefinitely. It will create kind of an indefinite reverb there. You also have the ability to, as you're playing, if you land on a note and you want that to ring out, you can take the reverb pedal, the reverb knob, and crank that all the way to the right, and about 90 to 100% it's going to hold indefinitely as well. So that's one way to operate the indefinite hold with this pedal. Now on the Sunlight, you also have a second switch, which is the alt switch, and out of the box, just that will operate as an indefinite hold feature. So that's one thing to consider as well, but it can also be mapped to a kind of temporary preset switch. If you want to, in the middle of playing, go back to maybe a different setting on some of the knobs, you can set it to do that. So there are ways you can go in and augment what it does and kind of take it in and out of that, which is pretty interesting. Additionally, if you wanted to do an indefinite hold, there is the input feature here and the decay feature that will allow you to do that. If you open the input wide open, that will help you enable what they call dynamic hold, which each note or each chord you play will be indefinitely held until the next note or chord is played. So if you do a lot of single note work and you don't want that reverb to trail off, this would be a really interesting option for you as well. So that's enough talking about what they sound like and how they work. Let's kind of plug them in and just play a couple chords and notes and see how they sound different, and hopefully that can help you make an informed decision. Okay, so we're going to start with everything about noon here. I am playing through a Mesa Boogie Lone Star on clean. There is no reverb on the amp, so this is my clean sound. Okay, so what we're going to do is take you just through each of the three settings. Like I said, quick and dirty demo here, and we'll give you an example of what each of them sound like. So with the first, on the Procession, we have a flange setting. So once again, the clean signal, and with the Procession. Okay, and that same thing with the Sunlight on tape mode. Okay, so let's try filter setting on the Procession. Let's try the same thing with the comb setting on the Sunlight. Okay, the last setting on the Procession will be tremolo. And of course, we have the pass setting on the Sunlight. Well, there you have it, folks. There's a quick and dirty demonstration of the two pedals, what they can do sound-wise, just basically in terms of what their different voicings sound like, and here's what they sound like together. Just to play us out, here we go.